You think she doesn't want sex. That's the story you've been telling yourself. But what if I told you that's not the real problem? Because I've seen this pattern too many times. A man starts chasing intimacy harder, and the woman becomes colder, not more responsive, not more engaged, just distant. And the more he tries, the worse it gets. That's not random. That's predictable. Because female desire doesn't respond to pressure the way you think it does. It follows a completely different set of rules, and if you don't understand those rules, you will keep turning her off while trying to turn her on. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 truths about how women really think about sex. So you stop making that mistake. If you want to understand what's really happening behind her behavior, stay with me. And if you're serious about seeing women clearly, instead of guessing, hit like and subscribe. Because what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's how this game actually works. Let's break it down. Let me start with the first truth. And if you miss this one, nothing else will make sense. For a woman, sex doesn't start in her body. It starts in her mind. You see, men experience desire like a switch. It turns on fast, often without warning. A visual, a touch, a moment, and you're ready. But her desire doesn't work like that. It's not a switch. It's a sequence. And most men skip that sequence entirely. You assume that if you feel it, she should feel it too. So you go straight for the physical. But in her world, the physical is the last step, not the first. Her desire builds through thoughts, through emotional residue, through how she felt the last time she was with you, through how you made her feel earlier that day, the way you looked at her, the way you spoke to her, the tension you created, or the tension you killed. And here's where most men quietly lose her without realizing it. If her previous experiences with you weren't satisfying, not just physically, but emotionally, her desire doesn't stay neutral. It fades, slowly, silently, until one day it feels like it disappeared. It didn't disappear. It went into sleep mode, like a system that shuts down when it's not being stimulated the right way. So when you ask, why doesn't she want it anymore? What you're really asking is, why isn't her mind activated anymore? Because that's where it begins. And here's the uncomfortable truth most men don't want to face. It's not that she doesn't have desire. It's that you're no longer triggering it. You're trying to access something physical, without earning the psychological entry point. And the more you ignore that, the more she disconnects, not out of spite, not to punish you, but because her mind simply isn't there. And when her mind isn't there, her body won't follow. Now here's the second truth. And this is where a lot of men get it completely backward. A woman's desire is not driven by how attractive you are. It's driven by how desired she feels by you. You might think attraction is enough. You show up. You look good. You expect her to respond. But what actually ignites her isn't just your presence. It's your attention, your focus. The way you look at her like she's the only woman in the room. Because for her, desire is not just about being turned on. It's about being chosen. That's why you see those playful behaviors. The teasing, the running away, the little games that make you chase her. It's not random. It's not childish. It's her way of checking something very specific. Do you still want me? And early in the relationship, you answer that question constantly. You pursue, you flirt, you notice her, you make her feel seen, desired, irresistible. And her response, effortless. But then something shifts. You get comfortable. You stop chasing. You assume she already knows how you feel. And without realizing it, you remove the very thing that was feeding her desire in the first place. So now she feels ordinary, not ugly, not rejected, just not special. And when a woman stops feeling desired, her body follows that emotional signal. Her interest drops. Her responsiveness fades. And suddenly, the same woman who once couldn't keep her hands off you seems distant. Not because she changed, but because the environment that made her feel wanted disappeared. And here's the truth that stings. Attraction doesn't die because of time. It dies because of neglect. You didn't lose her desire overnight. You slowly stopped giving her the feeling that created it. And once that feeling is gone, she doesn't chase it. She waits to see if you'll bring it back. Now, let's move to the third truth. And this is where most men completely misread the situation. You see sex as a release. She often experiences it as an added demand, and that difference alone can destroy desire. Think about her day for a second. Work pressure, deadlines, messages she hasn't replied to, things at home that still need to be handled. Maybe kids, maybe responsibilities that don't switch off when she walks through the door. Her mind doesn't reset the way yours does, so when you approach her at the end of the day, expecting her to just get in the mood, you're stepping into a space that's already crowded, not empty. And here's what you don't see. Every unfinished task, every unresolved stress, every emotional weight she's carrying, acts like a brake. You're trying to accelerate, but her system is still pressing down on stop. And the worst part? When she feels overwhelmed and the only time you become fully attentive is when you want sex, she doesn't interpret that as desire. She interprets it as use. That's when she starts pulling back. Not because she doesn't care about you, but because she feels like you're only showing up when you need something from her. And once that perception sets in, her body responds accordingly. Cold, distant, unavailable. You might think, I didn't do anything wrong. And technically, you didn't. But you also didn't do what she needed. Because for her, support is foreplay. Attention is foreplay. Relief from stress is foreplay. And if you ignore everything that happens before the bedroom, don't be surprised when the bedroom starts closing its doors on you. Desire doesn't grow in pressure. It grows in space. And if she doesn't have that space mentally, she won't open up physically. Now the fourth truth, and this is where a lot of men unintentionally sabotage themselves. A woman cannot fully open sexually if she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you. And I don't mean safe in the obvious sense. I mean safe to be vulnerable, safe to relax, safe to let go of control. Because for her, sex is not just physical exposure, it's emotional exposure. When she opens up to you in that way, she's not just letting you into her body, she's letting you into a very unguarded version of herself, and that requires trust. But here's what I see happening over and over again. You disconnect from her emotionally during the day, you're distant, you're distracted, maybe even dismissive without realizing it, and then later, when it's convenient for you, you suddenly want intimacy, you switch modes, but she doesn't. Because in her world, those moments are connected. You can't ignore her presence all day and expect her to offer you closeness at night. It doesn't work like that. And when she doesn't feel emotionally held, her system does something very natural. It protects her. She pulls back. She becomes less responsive, less open, less willing. Not to punish you, but to avoid exposing herself in a space that doesn't feel secure. And this is where men get frustrated. You think she's withholding. You think she's being difficult. But what's really happening is much simpler. She's closing a door that you didn't realize you were pushing shut. Because emotional safety isn't built in one moment. It's built in patterns. The way you listen to her, the way you respond when she's stressed, the way you make her feel seen or invisible. All of that carries into the bedroom. And here's the truth most men need to hear. If she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, she won't fully give herself to you. Not consistently, not deeply. You don't lose her desire in the bedroom. You lose it long before you ever get there. Now here's the fifth truth. And this one quietly breaks a lot of expectations men carry into relationships. For you, sex can feel like the center, the proof, the confirmation that everything is working. For her, It's not the center. It's a reflection of everything else that's happening between you. You might measure the relationship by how often you're intimate. She measures it by how she feels when she's not, how you speak to her, how you treat her in small moments, whether she feels appreciated, whether she feels like you're actually present in her life or just passing through it. And here's where the disconnect happens. You think, if we fix the sex, everything will get better. She thinks, if everything else feels right, the sex will follow. Do you see the difference? You're trying to fix the outcome. She's responding to the foundation. So when intimacy starts fading, you focus on increasing it, initiating more, trying harder, pushing for it. But from her perspective, that feels like pressure on something that's already out of balance. Because in her world, sex is not the engine of connection. It's the result of connection. And if that connection is weak, forced intimacy doesn't repair it. It exposes it. That's why some men end up in a cycle. The less sex they get, the more they chase it. The more they chase it, the more she withdraws. Not because she doesn't care, but because what you're asking for is disconnected from what she actually needs. And here's the shift you have to make. Stop treating sex like the goal. Start treating it like feedback. Because when you understand what it reflects, you stop chasing it. And ironically, that's when it starts coming back. Now the sixth truth. And this one is uncomfortable for a lot of men to accept. A woman can give you sex, even when she's not in the mood. And when she does, you might assume she's just going through the motions, that it doesn't mean anything, that it's fake. But that's not how she experiences it. For you, desire usually comes first. You feel it, then you act on it. For her, it can work the other way around. She can choose to give, even if the feeling isn't fully there yet. Because for her, sex is not only something she takes, it's something she offers. And sometimes, she offers it because she loves you, because she knows it matters to you, because she wants to maintain that connection, even if her own desire hasn't fully caught up. Now here's where men misunderstand this completely. You take that moment at face value. You think, she's not really into it. She doesn't want me. So you pull back, or you get frustrated. Or worse, you start resenting her. And ironically, that reaction destroys the very dynamic that made her give in the first place, because what she did was an act of emotional generosity. She stepped out of her own state to meet you in yours. And when that effort is met with doubt, pressure, or criticism, she learns something very quickly. That giving is not safe. So next time, she doesn't. And now the gap widens. You feel rejected. She feels unappreciated. And both of you think the other one changed. But here's the truth. She didn't feel it. She chose you anyway. And if you can't recognize that, you'll slowly train her to stop choosing you at all. Now, the seventh truth. And this is where most men lose opportunities without even realizing it. Timing controls everything. You think desire is constant. That if it's there, it should be accessible anytime. But for her, desire is deeply tied to context. Not just what's happening between you, but what's happening around her. Her mood, her energy, her cycle, her day, all of it matters. You might wake up wanting her. She might still be carrying stress from yesterday. You might plan a perfect evening. She might have had a bad day that killed her emotional availability hours before you even saw her. And here's the mistake most men make. You stick to your timing. You decide, tonight is the night. And when she doesn't respond the way you expect, you push. You insist. You try to override her state. And the moment you do that, you break something subtle but important. You show her that your need matters more than her reality. That you're not reading her. You're trying to control the situation. And once she feels that, her body tightens instead of opening. Because desire cannot be forced into existence. It has to be met where it is. And sometimes, the most attractive move you can make is not initiating. It's recognizing that she's not there and choosing to hold space instead of taking. Because when a woman feels understood in her timing, something shifts. She relaxes. She feels seen. And that emotional alignment often brings her back to you faster than any pressure ever could. You don't create desire by insisting on your moment. You create it by respecting hers. Now the final truth. And this is the one most men never fully understand. But it explains everything that comes after. For a woman, the quality of the experience determines whether desire grows or disappears. Because here's the reality. It is not easy for most women to reach orgasm. Not consistently, not automatically, not the way it is for you. And when that part is missing, something subtle begins to happen. She starts associating intimacy with effort instead of reward, with performance instead of pleasure, with giving instead of receiving. And over time, her body learns that there's nothing waiting for her on the other side of that experience. So her desire slowly declines. Not dramatically, not overnight, but quietly, until one day she just doesn't crave it anymore. And you think she lost interest. But what she really lost was the incentive. Now here's where men go wrong. You focus on variety.